Welcome to another episode of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast, brought to you in partnership with Primetime Productions. This is episode 20 of Drop the Mitts. Tommy, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. I mean, I'm doing good. It's a Wednesday, enjoying this nice warm weather while it's still here, and then it's going to be cold as crap again this weekend. So just going to soak it in, try and get some sun, I guess.
Yeah, dude. I'm literally tomorrow. Emma and I are headed to Nashville. Buddy's getting married, so I'm best man in that wedding. So got to get the
congrats.
Yeah, man, got to get the speech ready, and yeah, hopefully rip it up in Nashville for a couple days. Although I don't know how long I'm going to be able to last there, man. Getting older,
Nashville's a great time. Their downtown is set up so nicely.
Dude, Broadway's so sick. But
I went there a couple of years ago, and it was the only thing I didn't get to do because the people we went with was we didn't get to eat Nashville hot chicken.
Oh man!
And I was like, this is the whole point. Like it's like what you sort of go for.
I'm hoping that the Preds are in town. I haven't even looked at the schedule. I know. So we leave tomorrow. We come back Monday. If I can catch a game at Bridgestone, that rink is electric, dude.
Honestly, I'm trying to go there in March.
You are for a Preds game?
Yeah,
dude, you should. It's for me. It's
a 6 hour drive.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad. Colorado's in town, so it'd be like a fun game to go see.
Oh yeah, dude. There's
division battle, like Yossi, Makar, Saros, Georgiev. Like it would be a good game to go see.
Yeah, hopefully they're all healthy by then. But
yeah, true.
Dude. Even Nashville's not bad this year. They're always fun to watch, man. Like I love watching Roman Yossi. He's one of my favorite defensemen.
They got some decent young guys in that lineup too.
Yeah, dude. You know who's another guy I love watching is Luke Evangelista. Yeah. I think he's a young kid that not a lot of people are talking about. Big power forward, and I think he's nasty, dude.
I think they touched on it on Empty Netters.
Luke Evangelista.
I think they brought him up.
Yeah, dude. He's fucking gross, and
you know who else is gross?
Who?
That Russian defenseman rookie for the fucking Ducks.
Oh my! Pavel Mintyukov is
dude. He is
so good.
Like I'm like no one literally pictured that at all. Like
no. Well, what's crazy is Chicago grabbed Kevin Korchinski. I want to say it was like 2 picks before Mintyukov. They're both nasty, dude.
I was gonna say Korchinski's fine. He's doing good in Chicago.
He's young. I want to say he's like 19, but both.
I think he went the draft before Bedard.
Yeah, no, he went the year before because obviously the Bedard year they grabbed Oliver Moore as well. But the year
he's the kid in Minnesota, right?
So good, dude.
That kid is so good. Like I know, like obviously Bedard's the highlight, and like obviously that's great. But like, I think Johnny Lazarus like posted like he's been posting like college highlight stuff, and I'm like, damn, this kid can score,
dude. Like, and we'll get like the TikTok account, the Drop the Mitts TikTok account. We'll get like tons like DMs with like just highlights and stuff. So I kind of like go through and try to post as many as I can.
Yeah,
we've posted already so many Oliver Moore goals. It just seems like
and it's like absurd. Like he's gonna come in and play with Bedard, and that's gonna be like the new dynamic duo in Chicago.
Yeah, dude. And like going back to, the Ducks, man, in Mintyukov, like he's just one of the young pieces that they have. And I brought it up earlier in the week. It was last week, actually, that, man, Mason McTavish, holy shit, has he looked good.
It's kind of crazy. Like no one expected them to be good, and that's fine. Like they were piss poor last year. They couldn't defend. I think Gibson got peppered with like 40 shots a game. Yeah. They had no structure, man. Like it was just my buddy's a Ducks fan, and it was just like he's like, yeah, we can't defend, and Gibson just does what he can do. But it's like this year's a little different. Like I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team, but it's like you're starting to see these younger pieces kind of click more. Like McTavish looks great. Like he looks everything that he was supposed to be when he was drafted.
Yeah. 100%.
So it's great to see. Drysdale, he's just snake bitten with injury. Zegras only has like 2 points.
Well, that's what I was just about to bring up to you. I think it was a graphic made by the NHL, and it was like talking about the young stars in Anaheim or whatever. And they had like Mintikov on there. They had Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish. Bro, they left out fucking Trevor Zegras of this
I mean, I'm not
Drysdale.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I like Zegers. He's produced like 60+ points the last couple of years, but I think he's kind of overrated.
Man,
I
he
mean,
just
that might be like a really outlandish take. I think whoever listens to this might literally come at me and
oh
say
man.
why, but I think he's good. I don't think he's as good as what they've portrayed him to be. Like, yeah, he does the cool Michigan and he does, this and that, but it's like
Yeah, I
he's
think
not and he's not producing on a line where the other guys are.
yeah,
That's brutal. Like,
right.
how does that happen?
I think what's the weirdest thing, not even the weirdest thing, like I think people looked at him when obviously he was all over social media, right, with doing the Michigans you mentioned, but like, man, Leo Carlson is the 1C for the future. Like, I think Zegers has kind of gotten bumped as that, like,
Well, he can play wing
and he
too,
can
so they can
play the
always just
wing.
get another center.
That's exactly what I was saying. Yeah,
And
like
I
I
don't
think
know how like defensive responsible he is enough. Like, because as a center, like you definitely have to be, or at least you
oh,
should strive to be a little bit. Like, don't like obviously you're not going to be like Patrice Bergeron and be this elite 2-way center, but you could definitely have defensive capabilities, or just put him on the wing and get another center. That's very possible.
yeah, because like again, they're gonna have a high pick this year, dude. I mean, it's inevitable that they're gonna have not saying they're gonna have the number one pick, but they're gonna have this draft upcoming is loaded once again.
Hey,
So,
never say never, man. They're ahead of the Oilers and the Flames right now, and the
oh,
Sharks. So I mean, they're really not sitting in bad company, man.
no, man. They but yeah, I mean, easily go grab another center, move Zegers to the wing. I like what they're doing there, man. They've got some good young pieces, so we'll see
Yeah.
how it plays out. But
Do you think they like just on the topic, like do you actually think they trade Gibson? He requested a trade, they never moved him. He's actually not playing that bad.
no, he's not. But again, he's one of those goalies that gets absolutely fucking peppered every night.
Well, well, let me actually, I'm gonna look it up while I'm sitting here dicking around. Like I have actually the stats pulled up. Like last year was bad. Last year they averaged like 40 shots against last year. It was I don't know how like if I'm Gibson, like yeah, I don't blame you for wanting a trade. That's
Yeah.
horrible. They average that's actually like not bad. They're in the green. They average 32 shots a game, which is ninth in the league. I want to say that's fewest because if you're like in the red,
They get 32 shots a game or they give up 32 shots a game.
they give up 32 shots
That's
a
a
game.
night and day difference from last year.
Yeah, last year it was brutal. I'll look at last year. Last year was
But
disgustingly bad.
going back to your original question about
Yeah, last year they
Gibson,
averaged 39.
yeah,
That
dude,
was
that's
first. That was the first. I mean, they're still allowing a ton of shots,
yeah,
like, but going from first to like ninth in terms of like the most,
yeah,
I'd say that's progress. They still average the same amount of shots per game, which is so. I
yeah.
mean, that's here nor there, but
Well,
so
to go back and answer your original question, if they're in a spot come deadline time where they're not making the playoffs, they don't feel like because again, they're starting to get some guys back, Kalorn, he's always he's a veteran talent, he's a good player still. Um, if they're in a spot where come deadline time, they're not going to make a run, they're not going to make the playoffs, they're completely out of it. I think you have to at least be aggressive with moving, John Gibson. Why wouldn't you?
because he's actually like both their goaltenders actually are playing
Do-
fairly well.
Dos Dostal is younger, significantly younger, and he's a very good young
Wow,
goalie.
dude, their numbers are really well. Like, okay, so Gibson's had one more start. He's allowed one less goal than Dostal.
Yeah,
They both have a save percentage above 900. Their goals against average are below 3. Gibson's is a 2.41, and they both have a positive goal saved above expected. Like they're playing better. I think if they really like Anaheim's always had a weird way with developing goalies. Like you even look back, they've always had somebody. Like they got rid of Brizgalov, they had Hiller, then they like moved on to Gibson, then they had it's just they always have another goalie.
oh yeah,
So if they think this Dostal kid is the real deal, I mean, they could move Gibson if a team is desperate enough. I don't know what his cap hit's like.
So that would be my next question. But with that being said, like I feel like you'd get a pretty decent return for a guy like John Gibson, right? Like especially a team that's, because you have to think the team that's going to acquire him
That's not
more
bad.
what's the cap hit on him?
Cap hit is 6.4 million a year, and he's under contract for the next 4 years. I don't think he has trade. Oh, he's got a modified no trade clause.
So he can okay, so he
He can
has
he can somewhat dictate where he goes. I mean,
yeah.
I think at this point in his career, I mean, he's been the backbone of Anaheim for as long as I can remember. I mean, I think at this point to go somewhere, I mean, he probably want to go to a contender.
Yeah. No, and
I think a team can facilitate it. I mean, is there any team you think like as of right now, as it currently stands, that would maybe be interested in a guy like John Gibson?
there's a few, dude. And I just want to pull up standings right now to see because yeah, again, why wouldn't you? If you're a team that's going to make a deep playoff run and you're a goaltender away, there's a couple teams that come to mind right away.
Sure.
Toronto. Yes, Samsonov continues to struggle as much as he has. I love Joseph Wall, don't get me wrong, but can you imagine being able to add a John Gibson to that rotation? If Samsonov continues to
Yeah.
struggle, you're not going to give him spot starts. So then you'd be rolling with a tandem of Joseph Wall and John Gibson. That Toronto is the first team that comes to my mind.
Yeah, but I don't even know if they'd have the money to make it work. They'd probably have to facilitate like a 3-team trade to try and
They'd have to work out some
or
LTIR
they would have to like cough up some money off the books.
that or utilize the
They're
LTIR
tight.
one way or another.
They already have. I mean, I don't know how much more you can push. You already pushed Murray and Muzzin.
Yeah. I mean, dude, looking down the list,
Edmonton.
obviously we see, Shesterkin's been injured, which that we'll get into that later on. The success of the Rangers without some of their top dogs. Um, man, even
Edmonton.
but the thing is Edmonton going to want to take on that if they're already that trash?
So them too. So they have no financial flexibility. They don't even have financial flexibility to move people up and down within the organization. I think with putting Campbell on waivers, they get a little bit of relief. I don't think it's a lot, but something has to give somewhere because now we're on the topic. Like this is the Edmonton Oilers. They are, I think they're 7th in the Pacific.
Yeah.
They play the Sharks on Thursday, which is tomorrow.
Toilet bowl.
If they lose that game, look, I get the Sharks won, and it would have been hilarious if their first win did come against Edmonton. But,
yeah,
dude, if Edmonton loses to the Sharks, what happens? Do they fire the coach?
I think Jay Woodcroft is on very thin ice right now. I think
Something has to give. Something's got to give somewhere. Like, their depth sucks. Their depth is garbage.
Yeah,
Defensively, they're okay, like in terms of like their core side against and the attempts they're giving up.
yeah.
But like in that Vancouver game, their coverage is so like not lazy, but it's like there's gaps to where the opposition get open. Like Vancouver was getting peppered like 19-3, and then they score a goal on their fourth shot because somebody was lazy in coverage. It's like, okay, if you're not going to defend well like that, you need to make a save, and they're not getting the saves. But they're going to have to part ways with somebody with a high cap hit, and a lot of those guys have trade protection too.
Yeah, well, I think what you're starting to see now is a lot of these contracts that they signed a few years back really are starting to come back and bite them in the ass. I mean, listen, man, Darnell Nurse making $9.5 million for how he plays. He's making the same money as Charlie McAvoy. That's outrageous to me. I think
He probably makes $2 million more than what he should. And I mean, and you can't, and like in these cases, like you can't ever fault the player. That's money.
no,
Like, and I know people are like, well, he makes that much. Well, you know what? Like, good for him. Like, honest to God, good for him. He makes that much money. But is he playing at that level of that money, no.
And I think that's more of a shame on the team, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think I completely agree with you. Yeah, you can't knock the player. Go get your bag. Go make as much as you can, right? While you're healthy, whatever. It's more of a shame on the team that you evaluated this player because again, now it's coming back to bite you in the ass, right?
Well, it's like they're
And
they're
Evander
three they're
Kane,
they're
same thing.
three they're three big defensemen I think are fine. Like I thought the Ekholm acquisition was actually really good. I thought that was one of the best moves of the deadline last year. And he
Yeah,
actually has looked good as an Oiler. Bouchard on the power play is completely fine. He kind of
Evan
takes over.
Bouchard's their best defenseman, hands
I
down.
don't know how I don't know real I don't watch the Oilers a ton. Like so I don't know how good he is in his own zone. I'd have to kind of like do look at the fancy stats, but like he's a power play merchant, which is perfect for them.
Yeah,
Like he
100.
fills in for Tyson Barrie at like a cheaper cost, but getting Ekholm was huge. But like they just don't have depth, and it's like you can't rely on McDavid and Draisaitl
Yeah,
to literally outscore your problems. And it's a lot of pressure to put on Stuart Skinner in that role. Like, hey, like
yeah.
you know, like
I think they have a lot more problems than I think they have bigger problems than their depth. I think just seeing the body language of their top dogs, their coach's response in there's something off there. I don't. It
I
might be
think if
off
they I
related.
think
It
if they
might.
lose to San Jose, it's bad.
Oh man, if they lose to San Jose, I mean, those are two coaches in that game that probably are on the both on the hot seat, right? Dave
Yeah, but
Quinn.
like, I mean, what do you like? I mean, Quinn, it like I get their NHL, but like, dude, look at that roster, man. Like
Quinn
that roster is so bad.
Dude, Quinn has gotten the raw end of the deal on probably his last 2 head coach jobs, right? I mean, between the Rangers and San Jose, like, the Rangers during that rebuild, dude, before where they are now, they were in rough shape. Rough shape. I mean, you're talking
This is worse. This has to be
oh,
worse.
this is way worse. I mean, they
Like
have some young
outside of
players.
like Hurdle and Couture, I mean, who's on that roster?
Yeah, I mean, you have some
Like,
budding stars, like, obviously, I think William Eklund is gonna be a phenomenal player for them.
oh, 100%.
Um, you drafted Will Smith last year, 4th overall. Quentin Musty, like again, they're gonna have pieces. It's not gonna be for another 3, 4, 5 years, probably. Like I think you're looking at a team that's gonna be bottom of the barrel for the next 3 years. Having
Easily.
again,
I
you've
mean,
seen that with teams that are rebuilding that are now on the positive side of things, right? They were garbage for 4 years, and now you're starting to see this shift, right? Detroit's becoming a very good team. Ottawa, Buffalo, like what goes around comes around, man. Like these are good. They're not there yet, but they're starting to turn a corner.
yeah, they're starting to turn a corner. I do agree. The only issue I have with those three teams is they're just so inconsistent.
Yeah,
Like you watch their games and it's like nothing's perfect in the NHL. No team is perfect. Like the Boston Bruins last year weren't even perfect. Let's be really honest. Like it,
yeah,
like they were good, but like there were definitely flaws in the game. These teams are just they're like so inconsistent, man.
yeah.
Like I watched Detroit play the Bruins Saturday and like it was a fairly very good performance, I'd say, by Detroit. They won by 1 goal, but overall, like they played what I thought was a better game than when they played the Bruins the week before. Ottawa, it's like you watch them; they have good games and they have really bad games, and it's like
Dude,
there's
this
just
bullshit
something.
with Ottawa. They've caught some shitty breaks, dude. Let's call it
Oh,
for it.
their year is essentially a circus.
Yeah, and it's too bad, man, because they got some really talented
Oh,
players.
I love watching Ottawa. They have so
Man,
many good pieces like to watch that are great. Like, and Brady Kachuk, I mean, sounding off on the fans, and I can get it from both sides. Like, because the thing about Ottawa is they're not getting steamrolled. They're not losing like 8-1 and getting the doors blown off the building.
they're
They're
competing every night.
they're competing every single night. It's just
Right.
like these inconsistent efforts. And then Buffalo, I love Buffalo. I like their core. They suck defensively, and their goaltending is still a problem, in my opinion. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, I agree. And
I think they need to shore it up. I don't know who they go get, but
John Gibson.
They could go get John Gibson. I was calling for, and I think Biz said it last year, just like kind of shooting the shit on his show. Karel Vejmelka from Arizona. Like if Arizona just takes a crap, dude, he's a great goalie on a team that doesn't defend the best. But but them too, they're really fun to watch, and he's a core piece.
Yeah, I hate to be the fucking rumor mill here, but I don't know if you saw the tweet earlier today about Jordan Bennington being linked to the Edmonton Oilers. I
I
don't know.
saw that. I came across that yesterday. It was like, here's the thing, and I'm just gonna just lay this out for all the listeners, and this is just how it works. Okay, I'm a Boston Bruins fan. Obviously, you see behind me, I have Red Sox stuff, and I got Bruins stuff behind my tall Christmas tree.
Right.
All summer, this summer, all we heard, which is rightfully so because you lose Bergeron and Krejci. That was your 1-2 punch for over 2 decades, and they're gone. Okay, I understand if Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha doesn't move the needle for some people, that's fine. I like them, but maybe the outside world doesn't, and that's fine. So all summer, all you heard was if a center was potentially available, the Boston Bruins were linked. Why? Because there's a need. Everyone thought they needed a center. So Mark Scheifele was ringing the bell. I'll get to Calgary in a little bit, but Elias Lindholm is on an expiring contract. So they had him linked to the Bruins as well. Okay, no one got traded because of the salary cap. That's just, but my point is if there's a need, anyone that's available is going to somehow be linked.
Yes.
So the Edmonton Oilers just waived Jack Campbell. That contract sucked the minute it got inked. That was not going to age well. But Holland had to make a move, and so he did. It was the wrong move, and now he's paying for it. But if there's a goaltender available or might be available or a snuffing of one, they're all going to be linked to the Edmonton Oilers. And guess what? Sadly for Bruins fans, a lot of people in the rumor mill are gonna link the Bruins goaltenders to the Edmonton Oilers for that very reason.
Yeah.
Why? There's a need for a goalie, and the Bruins have the luxury of having 2 number ones. Do I think they should trade any of them right now? Absolutely not. Why? Because that's your bread and butter to success right now. You do not break up that tandem. You deal with that in the summer. Unless you get blown away by a crazy trade offer by the deadline, sure, it better be great. Other than that, you ride the tandem and you figure it out in the summer. But Jordan Bennington to the Oilers, that is interesting.
Yeah, you
probably trade Jack Campbell to make the money work.
You would have.
I want to say Bennington makes what, 6?
Let me check on that.
It's like 6 or 6.5.
It was just seeing that, man. Just like obviously we're talking about the Linus Ullmark rumor, right, to Edmonton, but
which the trade doesn't work anyway because the Bruins don't even have a 2nd round pick.
Exactly.
And Nugent Hopkins would have to waive his no movement clause, and so would Linus Ullmark. So the trade doesn't really work in hindsight. But for a hypothetical, again, I get it. If people need a goaltender, they're going to link the Bruins because the Bruins have 2 number 1 goalies, and they're both playing really well. That's just how it is.
Bennington has a cap hit of $6 million this year.
That's actually not that bad. I knew at the time, and they signed it right after he went sicko mode.
But my question is, you look at it from the perspective of these 2 teams. You've got Edmonton, who's second to last right now, and you've got St. Louis, who's sitting at 500, right? What would be the goal in this trade? Like, obviously, Edmonton's fulfilling their need of goaltender, but what does St. Louis have in mind? Like, what would they be looking to get?
So I wonder if I wonder at what point do they kind of turn a leaf and really retool here, because a lot of that Cup team is not around. You got a few guys that are still around, but a lot of that team is kind of gone, man. And they're not bad, but they're not great. I mean, they have trouble on the back end dealing people because of their no movement clauses and their cap hits. But you build around Thomas and Kyrou and just kind of see where you go. I wonder if they trade Binnington and get some assets back, whether it's players or picks.
So
and if there was a time to trade for Binnington, I think now would be the case. Like, he had a pretty raw year last year, but he's played really well.
Yeah,
He's got a 2.58 goals against average, a .919 save percentage. His goal saved above expected is 4.6. I mean, that's not horrible compared to last year. And he's even doing good in the high danger area as well, with a good save percentage of slightly above 800.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're going to trade for him, like, now would probably be the time. I mean, he's allowed 21 goals, but it's like his numbers aren't horrible, and I don't think the Blues exactly are great. Like, Kevin Hayes at one point was on the fourth line.
Yeah.
Why?
So, like, right off the top of my head, there's one guy that comes to mind who would make sense for what St. Louis might be trying to do, and that's Dylan Holloway. He's one of the best young players on Edmonton. Obviously, we're not talking McDavid, all those. He's a young kid, college hockey guy, played at Wisconsin. He's a banger, dude. He would be a perfect fit, and I could see them potentially doing something involving him. Like, if that's the route they're going to go, because if you think about it, who on Edmonton's roster would even be worth at this point a 500 team? It just doesn't make sense to me. It would make sense for me for them to go and get a young player like Dylan Holloway, right? And I don't know. He's a guy, man. I was watching. I think it was a clip that we posted. He he broke his skate blade, man, and was trying to get off the ice, and he like blocked another shot. And I was like, man, I love that grit, dude. Like, I love that. And just then I kind of went down the rabbit hole of like watching all the like other highlights, and I'm like, man, this kid's a banger. Like, he's very good. You're not hearing a whole lot about him because obviously he's not playing on the top two lines in Edmonton, so you're not going to hear about him. But that'd be an interesting piece that if St. Louis, so decided to move on from Binnington.
I mean, I don't know if they would want to, but I mean, Binnington it's like, I don't think St. Louis is going anywhere in terms of playoffs or cup aspirations. Like, I don't like, what, they won their cup, and a lot of those guys got their rings. That those guys like played their asses off. Same with Binnington. Like, he was stellar that entire run, even helping them get there. It could even entice him too. Like, I know the record is as bad as it is in Edmonton, but like, you're going to go to a team that like they want to win.
Yeah, it's not like
that can instill his confidence further too. Like, go play in Edmonton. You're playing with guys that want to win. They don't want to be in this position they're in.
Yeah, I mean, and he could be the focal point, right? Or the main piece that turns things around, gets them back.
Like, just a spark. I mean, take some pressure off Skinner. Like, I think Skinner's better than what his numbers show. Like, his numbers are horrible, but I think he's better than that. It's just, something's not clicking in Edmonton right now. And and they have a lot of good players. Like, you saw last year, they had like 400-point players. Like,
Nugent Hopkins was one of them.
So is Zach Hyman, I think.
Did he have 100 points?
I'm pretty sure he did. It was McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins for sure. And I'm pretty sure Hyman was the fourth one. Dude, he was like absurd last year.
Dude, Zach Hyman getting 100 points. I'm gonna check on that because So last year, let me find last year, 2020. He had 83 points, which is still a lot.
Last year,
yeah, 2022-23. He had, in 79 games, he had 36 goals, 47 assists, 83 points, plus 13.
I don't know where I thought he got 100.
So McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge.
Okay, so it was 3. I guess I just made it up. Holy crap.
Yeah,
dude, that's nuts. Looking at their point totals from last year, like the gap.
Yeah.
That's literally absurd.
I'm curious to see because
I've always liked Zach Hyman, man. I mean, I really think
I liked him in Toronto.
I
He's such a pain in the ass.
I think Toronto misses him
Yeah, no, I agree.
for the stuff that's going on, after the Boston game.
Yeah, dude.
You want to touch on that one?
Yeah, we can touch on that one because man, I'm still seeing shit about that. I'm still seeing Ryan Reeves' press conference
Just shut
about
up. Just stop talking about it. You
you
know
had
what?
your opportunity. You were out.
Like my biggest issue with that whole thing. It's not even the press conference. Yeah, like I don't even care about the press. It's the fact of like, why did you talk about it after the game, not at intermission, or like, dude. And I'm not saying this as a Bruins fan, but like, if that was the other way around, Lucic is ripping somebody's head off.
Oh, it would have.
Like not even like no questions asked. Like the Bruins would have literally just made Toronto's life hell the rest of that game.
Yeah,
And it's wild to see because that's what Toronto did all summer. They bring in Tyler Bertuzzi. He's not playing that well. He got demoted to the fourth line that game.
yeah.
You bring in Max Domi. I don't like Max Domi. I don't think he's that good to begin with. He had a good year last year, but that's a fluky year. He's not playing well either. And Ryan Reeves was brought in to do exactly what he said in his press conference. Granted, they came back against Tampa Bay. They clapped back after Tampa Bay said what they said in terms of the situation of like, getting pushed around and getting bullied around like in the playoffs and stuff. But it's like, why would you wait till after the game to be like, guys, we really should have been tough and really should have pushed back? Do it during the game. Like,
Yeah.
do it during the game. Send a message during the game. Man, I think it's like sometime in December they play again in Toronto. Mark that on the calendars.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what I don't understand is exactly what you just said. The reason for bringing these guys in was to add toughness, to add grit, to add put
That's
this,
sandpaper to the line.
yeah, to put fear in other teams like, "Hey, you're not gonna fuck around with our team and you're not gonna play that shit."
Yeah, and it's not even the point of like, did Marchand do it intentionally? That's not even the point. Whether he did or not is a different conversation. It's like your guy got hurt.
He's
Like
down.
he's
You
down. Like
respond.
you respond. It's as simple as that, and that's all you said in your press conference. It's like, okay, but like do it on the ice. Like, and you should have just did that in the locker room.
Yeah, well, the fact that he brought up, "Well, I wasn't out on the ice with him. We had last change
Yeah,
or
they
what."
had the last change or
I go,
something.
"Man, miss me with that bullshit. You were out on the ice with him multiple times and
Yeah.
had your opportunity. You did.
Well,
And it didn't even have to be with Marchand.
yeah.
You
No, I
defend
mean
your
you could have hit like Matty Patra for all. I mean that would
coulda,
have ended well, but
coulda.
my point is you could have literally just laid the body on whatever person was wearing, the alternate jersey, not
Dude,
Toronto blue.
responding doesn't always mean dropping the mitts.
No,
It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes it's a big
no,
hit. Sometimes it's a big goal. Sometimes it's how
yeah,
guys were fucking mute. They were useless in that game. And it was really interesting to see after the game Tyler Bertuzzi's response when asked about why he was smiling and his stuff. He's like, "Well, I don't think I have to like explain myself."
justify that. Yeah,
Like again, I mean, they're barking at each other. I'm sure some hilarious shit is being said. Like, what do you want him to do? He just got fucking demoted to the fourth line. Like, I'd be
yeah.
pissed off too.
So I saw actually something float around today. Like it was, I can't remember if it was Pierre LeBrun or Elliot Friedman, but was talking about like how Calgary has like three defensemen on expiring contracts. And he mentioned just like the Toronto Maple Leafs could be a team that's interested in them. And the three names that he brought up were Noah Hanifin, Chris Tanev, and Nikita Zadorov. If they really could use a guy, it's Nikita Zadorov.
I
I would
love
take him on my team in a heartbeat.
Have you gotten the opportunity to listen to any of his like press conferences within the past like 2 weeks?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
puts his entire friggin' team on blast,
I
and
respect
he
I
wants
respect him,
accountability.
but he did it in a professional manner.
Yes,
He
he did.
didn't do it. He didn't drag anybody through the mud. He didn't put anybody down. He was just,
Yeah,
trying to hold his team accountable, just leadership. but that's a big physical body that they don't have. Like,
Not on the blue line.
like somehow by the grace of God, John Klingberg is worse defensive. And I don't know how he's worse defensively this year than he was last year. But it's like you signed him with these aspirations of being. And really, that team needs like a nice shutdown guy, which is why he linked Toronto. Like, what do you think, especially about Calgary as a whole? Like, Jonathan Huberdeau got benched last night.
Yeah, I saw that. I think, dude, and trying not to solely look at it like again, you mentioned we're Bruins fans, right? And man, a guy I would love to have on this blue line is Noah Hannafin. And I think
Sweeney wanted to draft him, so it's like
that connection's there, man. Say what you want, man.
I
That
don't think
Massachusetts
I
connection is
don't think
always
I
going to
don't
be
think
there.
it I don't think it happens. Not with the emergence of Low Rye.
No, I don't think this year. I think potentially you could see some movement. Um,
He's a free agent.
he's a
Like
free.
Calgary has a lot of expiring deals. Like it's interesting because they have a lot of guys that are under contract that are probably very difficult to move. But Craig Conroy, he's made it very clear he's not going to keep guys around if he knows like they're not going to sign. And those three guys, Noah Hannafin's paused talks, from what I've read. Do you see Toronto maybe making a move for a player such as theirs, like someone that could be a shutdown guy? Like
I don't see Noah Hannafin being a fit in Toronto. I don't. I see
no,
Nikita Zadorov,
yeah,
Zadorov being a
I
fit.
think Zadorov goes
That's a
like
fit.
that's a fit. Like I think they need that. Even Tanev could be
He could.
potentially. He's got solid two-way play.
Yeah.
He also linked the Edmonton Oilers.
For Tanev.
Just no,
Oh, I mean,
just in generally speaking, this was more of just like a rumor on the 32 Thoughts podcast.
yeah.
He was just talking about like, like how funny would it be if Calgary just like helps these two teams that are just struggling mightily, like in terms of shutdown ability.
Yeah, and I think the only way that Toronto, looking at it first from Toronto, the only way they make a move for a defenseman is a guy like Zadorov, because that's exactly what they're missing. I mean, they're very soft on defense. He's a dude that would slip in there right away and be a
Yeah,
perfect fit. As for Noah Hannafin, I don't see him getting moved. This I think he just leaves in free agency. I don't think they're gonna move him for anything.
they might if like an offer comes their way. You know how people get really desperate at the deadline if
For
they need.
sure. For sure, but what's interesting about it too, dude, is you gotta remember we have Forbert and Grizz coming off the books for left shot defensemen. So you're looking potentially if they if Sweeney sees a fit of Lindholm, Hannafin, Lowry. Then you go to the right side, you're working on
Giving Low Rye some like bottom minutes wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing.
no, I
He's done well in like top 4 minutes, but giving him like just sheltered minutes, pair him with like bring back Shattenkirk for like $1 million, and I'm fine.
well that's I was just getting to you look at the right side of that defense. So McAvoy, Carlo obviously are locked up. Yeah, bring back Kevin Shattenkirk, dude, for
Bring
that last
Kevin.
pair. Why not? Or I'm sure there's going to be other, free agent, right shot defensemen available.
This free agency class is loaded. A
Yeah,
lot. Some guys have come off already because they've signed extensions, but like this is a very loaded uh free agency class.
yeah, and I think obviously with the cap going up, I think you're going to see the Bruins be pretty aggressive, right? You would think,
As it like kind of stands, I think Sweeney has like 30 million to work with.
which that's
But
outrageous.
which like he does have some holes to fill that are fairly big. Like you have the DeBrusque contract. Don't know what that's going to look like. He hasn't exactly produced and scored at the rate that he maybe should be. And then you have to sign Jeremy Swayman, and I hate to say, like he's going to get paid, and I know he's an RFA, but he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid more money. I could easily see him getting anywhere between 5 and 6. No
Yeah,
questions asked. No hesitations.
I'm looking at this free agency list right now. Yeah, there's some
It's big.
phenomenal.
Like
And right off, Brady
Aho
Shea
was.
is available.
I wanted Sebastian Aho, but like I knew he was going to sign in Carolina.
Did you had not to like change subjects? Did you see that hit that he had on Adam Fox?
Who?
Sebastian Aho. It was like a knee on knee hit. It was out.
We're just going to get into the Rangers now, but I saw it. Everyone kept looking and they were like, he kicked his leg out. I'm like,
He did. If you look at it,
like he kind of did, but he didn't. And I gotta say, I've said this to like a Hurricanes fan, like on their Facebook page, and they were just like, I think the fan was just saying like how why would Trouba say that like Aho has to fight? It's like he doesn't have to fight, but like he better keep his head up. He better keep his head up next game is all I have to say. I was like, I don't care how you look at it, like incidental or not, a knee on knee is a serious thing. Like you better have your big boys ready to go next game is all I have to say. Because I'm not saying Trouba's gonna take his head off, but dude, you took out their star.
yeah.
Incidental or not, like, dude, that's a guy that's going to make your life very difficult next game. Like, you better keep your head up. Like, Trouba is not afraid to deliver a big hit. He's has
a fucking freight train, dude.
He's the modern day Scott Stevens, and everybody hates it because they're trying to crack down on open ice hits. And you know what? It is what it is. It's part of the game.
He does it the right way.
I don't like seeing people get concussions, and I don't like seeing the head jerk back. But if he's hitting you square in the chest and he's getting your shoulder and he's delivering a big hit, it is what it is. It's part of the game, and he's just the modern day Scott Stevens. Like I told Devils fans, I'm like, you can't bitch about this.
Yeah.
You had a guy doing this for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like you can't complain. But dude, the Rangers are a wagon, man.
They are. I want to touch on that play a little bit because what I didn't understand, and by watching it, and I encourage whoever, to go watch this play. Adam Fox gets rid of the puck, right? All Sebastian Aho was trying to do was Adam Fox was making a beeline to the net. It was it was a give and go play. The puck was behind Sebastian Aho, and Sebastian Aho he was literally facing Adam Fox. There was no reason. He should have pivoted, transitioned. The puck is down low at that point. Sebastian Aho made an effort to try to slow down Adam Fox and prevent him from getting to the net. Clear as day.
Yeah.
He stuck his leg out. He was going to do whatever it took to prevent Adam Fox from getting to the net. Dude, you don't fuck around with knee on knee shit. That's some of the most dangerous shit.
I've taken a knee on knee. I got lucky, but dude, that shit hurt like hell when I played.
Bro, and like
that shit hurt so bad.
Fuck someone's career. Like
it's gonna be one of those things, and you know what? I will say Sebastian Aho is not a dirty player.
No,
he's not. He's not. It was a very poor play in terms of like how he executed, but he's not a dirty player. I mean, I love Sebastian Aho. I love what he brings to the Hurricanes. I love his style of play. He's gonna go down as probably the greatest Hurricane to ever play. Just gotta you're gonna have to keep your head up next game because the Trouba train is he's going to come and it's not going to feel good.
Yeah, no, and yeah, you're right.
And for a skill guy like him who likes to kind of beat bop through the middle of the ice, well, that's not exactly a safe spot for you. So you might want to keep your head up next game. It's going to be a bloodbath. I think those two teams hate each other.
Yeah. And again, you mentioned he's not a dirty player. Absolutely, he's not a dirty player. I think in the game happens so fast, right?
And those are two fast players.
Yeah, but again, it's one of those things you just don't do. I don't care how fucking fast the game, you don't stick your leg out ever. There is not a play in hockey that you can tell me where it's warranted where you stick your leg out. If you can name one for me or anyone can, unless you're going to block a shot to stick your leg out.
That was my only one was blocking a shot.
That's it. Other than that, man,
Yeah.
It's not warranted. It's dangerous. And yeah, we can get into the Rangers being an absolute wagon right now. I mean,
They're
they're
getting it done, man. Like, and it's not even just Fox being done. It's Shesterkin's out right now, and they lost Filipino too. So that's like one of your centers for a team that's fortunate enough to have center depth, and you're still getting quality goaltending from Jonathan Quick. I think the biggest key for them is their 5-on-5 play. It
yes.
was so lackluster under Gallant. They were, I think, like just from like a core sci-4 standpoint, they were literally mid-20s. They were poor under him. They relied on the power play. They relied on Igor Shesterkin way too much, and that's not sustainable. They had no structure. At least now under Laviolette, they have structure, and it doesn't matter when you have structure. You can plug any person in as long as you play to the system. That's why the Hurricanes are so damn good because they have structure and a system, and it works, and every player buys in. And you're seeing that with the Rangers. I think they've only lost like one game in their last like 8 games. They're first in the Metro. Like they're just getting it done, and it's collective from everybody. Alexei Lafreniere has newfound confidence playing with Artemi Panarin. He looks like a completely different player this year, and he's scoring goals. Vincent Trocheck is getting it done. Panarin, that's the best free agent signing they've had in a long time. They're just getting it done, even without Adam Fox. It's and it's just it's I'm a Bruins fan, and like my dad was a Devils fan, but I can safely say I love the Rangers and I love watching them. And
Yeah.
it's great to see them play better than what they were like even for the last 2 years. Like yeah, they were fun to watch. They went on a deep run the one year. They got bounced in a series that pretty much was the way it was supposed to go. And now they play with better structure. And you know what? Good for them and good for under Laviolette.
Yeah, I think, and you mentioned I'm loving what I'm seeing from Lafreniere. Obviously, we know what we're getting from Panarin. He's a stud. A guy that I have really enjoyed watching when I get to see Rangers games is Will Cooley.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Bro, this dude is a maniac. He's 6'3", literally 6'3", 210, 21-year-old. He was a 2020 second round pick, 29th overall in 12 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points, and is a +2. I love his game, dude. He's fun to watch. He's a banger, and they got a good one, man. He kind of emerged out of nowhere, like especially
Well,
for me. I'm sure Rangers fans probably have heard of him, but again, I really like what he brings to this lineup. Like it's a balance with all the skill. He kind of brings that edge, right?
he it's good for the Rangers because a lot of their talk, it's just been around like, can they develop these young guys? You look at a team like the Devils, like they've developed their young guys, and a lot of those young guys have now shaped the core of what that team is. Like the Rangers they got blessed. You were able to pick Kako the one draft, and then you were able to pick Lafreniere the next, and you're starting to see Lafreniere's game have this newfound confidence, which is fantastic. That's what you want to see finally. But Kako's a little concerning this year.
Yeah, he definitely hasn't had the same, I guess,
He's
success, right?
he's and the thing with him is he was on the top line with Zibanejad and Kreider, and he just wasn't getting it. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist in 12 games. He's only generating 1.5 expected goals. So I mean, he's scoring at an expected rate, but he's not generating a ton of offense. I mean, even Blake Wheeler has like 1 point right now.
Yeah, I did
I mean,
see.
they have a collective effort of where their depth scoring is coming from, but you're starting like what you needed as an X factor was Lafreniere and Kako, but now you got, like you said, Cooley. It's like, okay, well,
It kind of
he kind
works
of
out.
takes the place of like Kako a little bit. Like
Yeah,
that kid buzzes all over, man. It's awesome to see.
yeah, he's fun to watch, dude. And like again, they're pretty. They've got a loaded line. I mean, Kreider is Kreider, man. He's got 12 points right now, 9 goals, 3 assists. You mentioned Panarin, 7 goals, 13 assists. Eric Gustafson, man, dude,
He
defenseman Rangers. He's
he
having a
fills in on the power play where Fox is supposed to be, and it like softens the blow a little bit.
yes. And you know what I really like too, man, is like the Rangers still have kids coming up that aren't in the lineup yet that are going to be difference makers.
Inject Brennan Ottman into my veins
I
right
love it.
now.
I was just about to
give
say
me
that.
give me that guy and
Dude,
give me him now. Like if they can develop him properly, you can trade Capo Caco or do whatever you please with him. He's in the last year of his bridge deal. You can figure out what to do there, but man, inject that kid into my veins. That kid is dynamite.
dude, he is. And you like again, just to go down the list of, guys they've drafted, Gabe Perreault. Gabe Perreault he had the most points out of that line, right? Out from Ryan Leonard and Will Smith. And he went 23rd overall, right? Which was
In
insane to me that
in a loaded class, that's like great, but like holy crap. It's like when that pick was there, I'm like, just take Perot. It's right there. Just do it. It's right there.
it's
That's all you
easy.
have to do. It's
Well,
easy shoe and pick.
you mentioned it, dude, like that's exactly how I thought. Like pick rolled around and they announced Gabe Perreault. I was like, wait, I thought he was gone. And I'm like
No,
scrolling through looking at the thing. I was like, this dude fell to 23.
he was like the best player available, I think, like at that pick, and it was just like, dude, you just it's like a play. It's like a pitcher throwing it right down the middle. You just crush it. Just crush it
Yeah.
out of the park, man. That's and they did. And that's huge for them going forward. If he can keep developing the way he is and they kind of push these kids a little further, like you might have these veterans towards, maybe taking a little bit of a step back by the time they come in, but dude, the Rangers could be in really good shape in the really near future, to be really honest. But as for the present, they're doing great, and I think the coaching change has absolutely sparked it.
Yeah, I love him, Laviolette as the coach. I've always loved him as
They almost really messed up and hired John Hines.
yeah, I do.
That would have been a colossal mistake. Like if I was a Rangers fan, I'd literally like go to Chris Drury's house and question him. Like, like, dude, what are you doing? like,
Chris Drury's killing it right now, man. And you know what? I know that, you know, Hughes Gorton kind of laid that groundwork, I guess, right? But man, I love what Chris Drury's doing. And just to go down the list too of like some other guys that they have coming up. Zach Jones, who was a defenseman for
he
UMass.
played. He played last night. He
Yeah.
was really good.
Adam
Laviolette's very
Segura.
pleased with him. Oh,
I
dude,
don't know if you've
I
gotten a
actually
chance to
like
watch
that
Adam.
pick.
He's a good player, man. And like again, I think you're going to see him. He was a second rounder, 63rd overall in 22. Um, he's in the AHL right now, but he's another guy that I could see cracking the lineup in a year or two. I really like what they're doing. Like I think they've put themselves in a really good spot. They're balanced. They've got 4 good lines, and yeah, obviously the disappointing piece of this is Kako right now. We don't really know what the hell's going on. Like we've seen Lafreniere show. I wouldn't say that he's completely taken that next step yet, right?
It's better. It's better though. Like
It's
he's
better.
taken the next step that he needed to, and
Yes.
it, it's it just sucks because of the way the roster is constructed. Because he's behind Kreider and Panarin, and you're just not. If he was to choose to play left wing, you're just buried because that's just how the roster is constructed. He's playing his off wing, which is fine. He's open to it, but he wanted that increased role after the playoffs. He wants to be a top 6 guy, and it's something they just should have done this entire time.
Yeah. I no,
But
I agree.
it's fine. And you know what? He's clicking with Panarin, and just let it ride. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like this is what you wanted to see out of your first uh overall pick.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like I love what they're doing there. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Devils and Rangers in the Metro. I mean, in my opinion, right?
What about Carolina?
I think do they always get decimated with injuries? And I see the same thing happening this year.
I feel so bad for Freddie Anderson. I do want to touch on that. Like
Yeah, and that's why that's a good
that
segue in.
guy like I think he got the raw end of the deal in Toronto. I think like you can really like look at it now and you can actually honestly say to yourself like Frederick Anderson was not the problem in Toronto.
I agree.
If you actually look back at like his tenure, those last couple of years, dude, he had like 60 starts. That guy was out of gas by the time the playoffs came, and he
Yeah.
just played as well as he could, but he wasn't the problem. And I think you're starting to see now, how many different goaltenders has Toronto used since he's left?
God.
So in all seriousness, like they've used a good bit, but he goes to Carolina, and the poor guy just can't stay healthy. He's just been snake bitten year after year with some injury at some given point, and it's just super unfortunate. Like the first year, he got injured right before the playoffs, so Ranta basically played the entire postseason. Last year, he was hurt for a good chunk of the regular season, played lights out in the playoffs. Speedy recovery, Freddie. I hate that you're going through this blood clot issue. He is out indefinitely. I hate it for him because when he is healthy, he's a Vezina caliber goaltender, in my opinion. Just health has not been on his side, and I don't know when he's going to come back. I mean, if he can come back and regain that form, I hope he does. But the most important thing is his health, and I hope he can get healthy because he's a good person, but he's also a good hockey player.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, obviously, yeah, we wish him fast, speedy recovery. You never want to see someone go through something like that. As far as this is a big blow to this team, dude. Like, and that's again part of the
So
reason.
So I wanted to ask you and Mikey this question, like as like just a DM, just to like engage with you guys. And I've asked people this, and this was when this was a fully healthy lineup. And right now with the goaltending, you got Ranta. I mean, they signed both goaltenders back for under 5 million, which kudos to Waddell for getting that done. They're bringing Kochetkov back from Syracuse, but they have Halak on a PTO.
Right.
Um, But do you think this is a cup or bust season for the Carolina Hurricanes? And here's why I asked this question. They only have 3 defensemen locked up beyond this season, and that is Brent Burns, that is Dmitry Orlov, and that is Jacob Slavin. The forward position, the only players locked up are Bunting, Kotkaniemi, Svechnikov, Stahl. I want to say maybe Jesper Fost, and
Mhm.
there's like one more. If anything, that still half their lineup needs extensions. And you got Seth Jarvis and Marty Natchez highlighting the forward group that needs extensions. Is this a cup or bust year for the Carolina Hurricanes?
Yes.
Given what I like kind of laid out.
Yes. Yes. I think where they've
Oh,
been.
and the biggest thing is Rod Brindamore doesn't have an extension in place yet.
I don't think there's a scenario where, for sure. I mean, I feel like they've been at the same point, right? For however many years, they've been they've been a very good team, but I feel like they've stayed so stagnant, right?
There's
Throughout,
always something that happens. Like
there's
in
something
20
missing.
in 21-22, it was they got the goaltending and they killed the Bruins, and then they played the Rangers and they couldn't win road games, and their like entire top 6 went ice cold in the second round of the playoffs. Then you see last year they basically just, I mean, they ran into Bobrovsky. I mean,
Right.
it is like that just is what it is. You ran into Bobrovsky and you ran into Matthew Tkachuk. Like that was it. But there's just like always something that somehow snake bites that team, and you just gotta wonder if this is a cup or bust season. They'll have the salary cap, but they have a lot of roster spots to fill.
Yeah, it's again, they're in a weird spot, dude. Because again, you look down this roster. Do they have any clear cut top guys, superstars?
So
I wouldn't
it
say.
depends. It depends what you want to label as like a suit. Like I don't think they have. Like I think the closest thing to a superstar is Sebastian Aho. I think like Andrei Svechnikov, like very good, effective power forward. He does his role very well. I don't think he's a superstar, but he's like an all-star caliber player, and I think Natchez is the same way.
I agree.
Like I think like they're a team, and I've said this to a million Hurricanes fans. Like they buy into the system. They are a system-based team. They go by a scoring by committee type approach. Everybody chips in, but everybody buys into the system. Like the way they play, like nobody cuts corners and nobody slacks. They work as hard as their coach. I think they need like a superstar. Like I think
That's what I'm
they need like a Matthew Tkachuk. They need like a I don't know, like an Artemi Panarin. Like they need something. And I always like I don't think it'll happen, but it's like I always wondered if a guy like Toronto won't do it, and I don't think Carolina would either, given the state of like they need contracts. But I always wondered if like a legit scoring winger like William Nylander would go.
Yeah.
Like I love Seth Jarvis. I think he's great both ways. He's super good in the offensive zone for a small guy. I love Marty Necas, but it's like these guys, they go cold in the playoffs. They
Yeah.
just have. Like if Aho's getting shut down, like he's the train that keeps it going. It's just is what it is. And it's like if they get snake bitten in the playoffs with goal scoring, like I don't like you can only defend so much. Like
Yeah, dude, and honestly, look, just matchup wise down the stretch, I don't like how they match up with New York or New Jersey.
I think their problem. So like last year it was like finishing ability. They had great like offensive generation. Their expected goals rate was one of the best in the league. It's just they couldn't bury the puck. And it's like if you're going to run into a hot goaltender, like I don't care how often you have the puck if you're
Yeah.
not scoring, because if the other team's putting the puck in the net, it doesn't matter.
No, I agree, dude. And I think we're in agreement with there's something missing, and I think exactly what you just said, a superstar. And would I consider William Nylander a superstar? He would be a superstar on the Carolina.
He would be a superstar there because
Absolutely.
you even look back to last year, their like top point producer was Natchez with 71 points.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and that's fine when you have a bunch of guys who can chip in and produce and score goals, but like something has to give
Yeah.
somewhere. And I think if you don't win the cup this year, like changes are coming. Like I wonder what they think. Like I love Rod Brindamore. I would take him as my coach personally. I
Mhm.
think he's done a great job turning that thing around.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to run into the same problem the Boston Bruins ran into last year. They have way too many defensemen, and you can only play 6.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I think they were anticipating maybe a Brett Pesce trade. Hasn't happened. But you
yeah.
have too many defensemen. You have way too many.
The the bringing back of Tony D'Angelo, man, kind of was puzzling to me.
It makes sense. They need him for the power play. Their power play was porous last year, but I also
But you
think
were already so heavy on the back end. You just mentioned it.
it's so their recipe for success is their offense from the blue line. Their blue line was probably the most productive blue line in all of hockey. Like that's how that offense works. Their power play was significantly worse after D'Angelo left because he's very good at quarterbacking a power play. I personally think that the inability to finish and bury the puck trickled down into the power play. Because if you're not finishing it 5-on-5, that's fine. But if the same players are out there that are struggling to score, it just is a trickle down effect. Like
Yeah.
Tara Vinen had a down year. It's just like, okay, like, is one guy going to change it? It's worked a little bit, but it's like you brought in Dmitry Orlov. It's like, what? But again, like they have all these defensemen, and I think Rod Brindamore, it's a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong. We saw it with the Bruins, but then it's like, who do you sit? And what if you sit the wrong guy at the most inopportune time?
Yeah.
Like Matt Grzelcyk should have played,
Yes.
but he didn't. Instead, you had Derek Forbort and Connor fucking Clifton.
Yeah.
Absolutely ruined Game 6. Like, but it's like, does Carolina have that? Like they're sitting Jalen Chatfield in sometimes, and he's arguably their best shutdown guy behind Jacob Slavin.
And Burns. I mean, Burns is a good. He's a good.
Burns. So, and someone like tried like telling me they're like, what D'Angelo did was special. I'm like, what did he do? What the fuck did he do? Burns did the same thing but better the next year.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like they moved on from Dougie Hamilton and got D'Angelo. D'Angelo played better than Dougie. Okay, well, they moved on from D'Angelo and got Burns, and Burns played better. Like, you're
Yeah.
not putting D'Angelo on your top pair. You don't need to. Burns is completely fine with Slavin.
Yeah.
D'Angelo came in for the power play. That is why they brought him back.
Yeah.
They didn't bring him back for his defensive ability. I can tell you that much.
Well, that and the contract that you got him on. I mean, you had to assume after all the
Philly,
bullshit that's happened,
Philly ate like half of that.
right? So I'm like, I don't know. It's a good problem to have for sure. But yeah, you mentioned it. You can dress 6, right? I mean, you could
You're
realistically,
not going to do 11-7 in the playoffs. Like,
right?
you're not going to wear down your top 3 lines.
Yeah,
Like, they roll 4 lines and they roll them very effectively. Like,
right.
you know,
Yeah,
you know.
I think it is. I think it's cup or bust for them because how long are you going to stay stagnant, right? How long are you going to stay in the exact same spot that you've been in for how X amount of years?
Yeah, and you just
Gotta
don't know
take
if you're
that
going to
next
bring.
step.
You just don't know if you're going to bring this core back. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
Natchez and Jarvis are RFAs, but it's like if Natchez keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to get a significant raise.
Oh yeah,
It's at least 7. He's going to match Svechnikov. Like, you're not going to pay these guys pennies on the dollar to come back.
I bet you he gets more than 7, dude.
Carolina doesn't pay their players high. I mean, Aho
No,
makes
but
like
if
9.
he's an RFA, you're not telling me that a team's not going to fuck around and offer sheet him?
They might. I mean,
Why not?
He's great in open ice. He's very skilled. Has a great shot. I
Force
mean,
Carolina to shit or get off the pot, right?
but don't do what Bergevin did and basically tossed a lob to Waddell. Like, make it challenging.
Yeah.
Make him have to pay.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean, that Aho offer sheet was so ridiculous. I was like, it's an easy offer. Like, dude, shoot for the stars. And Aho signed it. He would have
yeah,
been happy to go to Montreal.
yeah. No, that shit was again. I
You
could
know,
see
but
them tossing a bag at him at Natchez, right? I mean, he's a really good player. I think he's going to get 7 plus.
yeah.
I
Oh,
think he's
yeah.
going to get more than that.
If he has a 70, 80 point season, absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
So I'd be curious to see like what they end up doing. But yeah, it's cup or bust for them, dude. Like it's
You got too many contracts that are expiring. Like, if you're going to go all in, this is probably the year. But I'm curious to see what they do for goaltending. I don't think they really address it. I think they're good with what they got. They play strong in front of them.
yeah,
And Ranta is good. And I think they want to further develop Kochetkov a little bit more. He's been really good in the AHL with Syracuse, being loaned there since Carolina doesn't have one.
yeah,
I mean, they can tread water either way. But again, speedy recovery to Freddie. I really hated seeing that,
yeah.
and
That
I
was
hope nothing but the best for him.
yeah. I always hate seeing news like that. Just fucking terrible. No one deserves to go through that stuff. But
No.
couple trades happened today. Like literally a little bit before we started recording. Sharks acquire Kalen Addison, who he has been struggling this year for sure, man. Like I was reading some Minnesota Wild blogs and stuff, and they have not been happy with him, along with John Merrill. Um, John Merrill hasn't gotten
Yep.
traded, but yeah. So Kalen Addison to the Sharks. The Wild in return get a 2026 fifth-round pick and Adam Raska. What were your thoughts when you first saw this deal?
I mean, Addison's not a bad player. I mean, just change of scenery is probably good for him. I mean, I don't think they signed him to a really big long-term deal. It was a short-term thing. I think it was like a year. But when you get a guy like Bogosian in return, who's a steady shutdown guy, he's steady on the third pair. He's been that way for Toronto, Tampa, pretty much his whole career. I mean, that's a boost to a team who's been, I guess you can say, fairly underwhelming defensively. I mean, I know they don't have enough wiggle room with the cap space, but not a bad move to make if you're Billy Guerin. So, hats off to you trying to right the ship. I mean, for the most part, they have a talented group. It's just got to kind of tighten the ship defensively a little bit.
Yeah, and I was listening to I saw a couple shorts and clips from the Bar Down Beauties podcast, which is based out of Minnesota. They cover the Minnesota Wild, and when discussing this trade, they they were saying that Billy Guerin answered their prayers, moving this guy, and I think you said it best, man. Like they're two completely different players. Obviously, it was two separate deals where you bring in Zach Bogosian. and again, I think down the stretch with where they are as a team right now, and because again, they're a 500 team right now, in the Central. That Central Division, man, you need a guy like Zach Bogosian, right, to kind of solidify things and have that veteran presence. And that division, man, is wide open. Like right now,
Yeah.
you're sitting. Colorado's 8-3 right now. Dallas is 7-3. Then you start getting into where everyone is a lot closer. Winnipeg 6-4, Arizona 6-5, Minnesota 5-5.
Yeah,
I
it's like up for grabs basically.
Yeah, and you know what? I love this move bringing in a veteran, a guy who's been there, a guy who's won
Done that.
Stanley Cups, made deep playoff runs. I think this is a phenomenal fit for them.
100% agreed.
So, like I said, I think and for a 2025 seventh round pick, like that's a win, dude.
Nothing. Yeah, it's a win.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
win-win.
that's a phenomenal trade. So those were the two trades that went down
Today.
today, and I think the last thing that we wanted to touch on was Gary Bettman, man, and these suspensions. Like I just can't for the life of me, man. I thought they were starting to kind of find their way and be consistent, right?
Yeah,
You
like,
know,
and
you
that's what it's
saw
all about.
the Rasmus Anderson hit on Patrick Laine got suspended, right? I believe it was 2 games. Then all of a sudden you see this Charlie McAvoy hit, which obviously we're pretty close, to the Bruins and whatever, and what we're fans and whatever. And
That was a stupid play. He should have
it
never
was a
did. He had
stupid play
he knew what he was doing when he did that.
for 4 games, right?
Yeah, and then
So
the Clifton hit on Heishier.
2 games. Was that two
There's
or that
no,
was
and
two?
it's all head injuries, and you can honestly make the argument that the Heishier one and the like Ekman Larson one were essentially like the same in a sense.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
like how
technically,
it happened, like how it happened is essentially the same.
so where the league has lost me and player safety has absolutely lost me is this week. Andrew Mangiapane cross checks Seattle's Jared McCann in the back of the head while his head is in the ice. Clear intent to injure. Wasn't anywhere near the play. Clear cross check to the back of the head. 1 game.
I don't get it.
Make
I like
make
that's
that
intent.
make
That's
sense
like
to me.
intent to injure. Like
Clear,
you
clear
have
as
to be
day.
consistent.
I
You
think
have
I
to be
think
consistent.
the worst thing that could have happened is Rafi Torres being brought in. Right? It's been such a mockery and just such a joke, dude. Like the inconsistency, and I thought we were starting to get on a path where we were going to start seeing consistency. Right?
There's
You're
not even consistency in the officiating, let alone player safety.
Yeah, well, man, that's a whole nother thing, man. Like that was
They
really
need,
mind blowing to me, and that's a
yeah.
dangerous play, man. Like
You could have ended his career.
especially what's been going on, man, with the neck injury. Like again, he cross checked him in the back of the head, like back of the head neck area.
Yeah.
Like, and you're gonna give him a 1 game suspension for that?
There's no way. And I'm not trying to justify like what Clifton or McAvoy or Anderson did. Like those are all warranted suspensions. Like, and they got their games. But I'm not like he didn't take his head up, but it's like, dude, you just cross check someone in the back of the neck. Like what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's a play that's
Like that,
fucking bogus.
like that's suspensionable for more than a game. Like you just think of the intent. Like,
Yeah,
did he get hurt? I don't know. I wasn't able to see. Like, I don't know if McCann came back. I hope he did. But
yeah.
it's like, dude, like
And I don't think that's
look at the intent. Like that's not like Oliver Ekman Larson played, but you saw like how bad that hit was. Like it's
yeah.
just like you see like how bad that is and how dangerous that is. Like you just don't do that. And for 1 game is just really it's just like it questions everybody like with the consistency part. Like be consistent. Like
Yeah.
what do you base your information off of like to justify a suspension?
And what exactly are you looking for, right? When you're making these decisions on the suspensions,
Yeah.
what during the play are you looking for? Like it's mind boggling to me. I can't for the life of me understand it. It's clear as day to all of us, right? You see someone right cross check in the back of the net,
Well, and it's like he had to
4 games,
turn around. He had to turn around too.
right?
So it's like he had to literally like turn around, take his stick, and
Yeah.
It's like,
And I think,
what do you look for? Like, what are you basing your suspension off of? Like,
and this ropes back into the fact that, Charlie McAvoy decided to appeal his suspension, which it kind of came a little bit late. I didn't know if he was going to appeal it or just accept it, but they ended up, the suspension was
yeah.
upheld. After
Which
this happened,
I mean, he's a repeat offender, so
he
I kind
is.
of get where like they're coming from. It may have been a little too late. It's fine. It's over after tomorrow's game anyway.
Yep.
So it just is what it is. Like, just be better, McAvoy. Just be better. I mean, the league is cracking down on stuff like this, so it's like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned they play tomorrow. After tomorrow, we'll get him back, which will be a huge boost. Um, Although I haven't hated the way that, these three guys have played: Wotherspoon, Lowry, and Mitchell. I haven't
you
hated the way they played. I mean, yeah, Mitchell,
you don't want to hate the way they play, but you need Charlie McAvoy.
you
You
missed
need your
Charlie.
workhorse. You need
Yes.
him. And the Detroit game, I think that's a game where you missed him. And I also think, what, they won the Dallas game, and credit to them. My hat goes to the fourth line. They matched up very well against the Jason Robertson line, which is not easy to do. That's a very deadly top line. But even then, you missed Charlie McAvoy in that game too.
Yeah.
My hat goes to Carlo. He's played very well these last few games. I mean, really stepping up. But just you need your ace. You need your cornerstone player. The Boston Red Sox need an ace right now in their rotation. Well, the Boston Bruins need Charlie McAvoy on their blue line.
And I've been really impressed with Hampus Lindholm. Is really, he's improving, right? I think
He,
he had
he
a
made
really,
he made my stock report on the upside for once. He was on the down for 2 straight weeks.
yeah,
The
man.
week 3 he was on the rise, and he it's just a very uncharacteristic start. I mean, compared to last year, but it's so hard to base everything off last year because everything was historic for the Bruins last year. But
Yeah,
he came in right from the start. He had 7 points in October, a couple game-winning goals before McAvoy came back. He had no points in October, was a -2. Now he's got 2 assists in consecutive games. Just hope he can build off of it. I mean, we need him too. I mean, Grizzlick's down. I know Grizzlick's a smaller guy. Everyone wants to hate on it, but Grizzlick's a good player and he pairs well with McAvoy.
yeah.
But
So
you need McAvoy back. So thankfully, you get him back. Especially, you're going to go play Buffalo, and Montreal again afterwards.
yeah, and actually, some news that just came across my phone. Recalled former number 4 overall pick Shane Wright. So he's going to be in the lineup. Yeah, they recalled him from the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Potentially in the lineup tomorrow versus Colorado. I mean, this is,
I just hope they don't bury him on the fourth line or something.
see, this is an example of, again, I think he definitely has,
His development got hindered
for
so
sure,
bad.
and I think this is a kid that he did show maturity issues, right? He needed some time to kind of grow up a little bit, even in on the ice and off the ice. Seattle right now is sitting at 4-6, um, with 3
Yeah.
overtime losses. Like, I don't know. I'm curious to see, where they end up. I couldn't agree with you more. I'd hate to see a kid like this get buried on the fourth line,
Just don't bury him on the fourth line.
because at that point,
Just play him, because you look at all these other teams, they're not sheltering their yeah, okay, Luke Hughes is on the third pair, but he's playing some fairly steady minutes, getting power play time. You see all these other rookies this year, they're getting opportunities and they're in spots that their coaches have placed them in to have success where they can make an impact immediately.
yeah,
This rookie, this Calder race, man, is going to be so exciting. You
yeah,
know what? Whoever wins, cool. If you get nominated as a top 3, pat yourself on the back. You made it in a loaded class. Logan Cooley, he's in a top spot. You look at
Matthew Nyes, yeah,
Matthew Nyes. You look at Zach
Bobby
Benson,
Brink,
Bobby Brick, dude. All these rookies are in spots to have success, and if Seattle was smart, they would put him in a spot to have success as well.
yeah. I think the only example where you're seeing a team kind of control kind of put the player on a leash and just kind of do controlled minutes is Anaheim with Leo Carlson.
Yeah,
Leo Carlson's coming off that lower body injury, but every game that he's played in, he's
he's
been
been good. He's been
dynamite.
good.
So again, that's really the only example I can think of that they're kind of easing him
Yeah,
in.
no, I mean every year, like throughout like all the leagues, like they're rookies, like they're kind of just they're in spots to have success, and I know like they sent him down last year, he bounced around and ended up with Coachella, but it's like if you're gonna put him in on like the third line,
Yeah,
give him some third line minutes behind Gord, behind Beniers, and just like let the kid play
yeah, or I mean, who knows, man? Put him on a line with Jared
with
McCann. I mean, who
yeah,
knows?
just
Um,
a lot of these centers these days can play wing too.
yeah, no,
So
you're absolutely
so
right.
it's like, if you have that flexibility and you have the ability to do that, it's like go ahead, just give him a chance to really succeed. Don't bury him on the fourth line playing like 9 minutes a game.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, dude.
Good for Seattle.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. It's time. Give him some reps. I mean, you're sitting at, like I said, 4-6 early in the year. I mean, why not see what you got? But yeah, man, that kind of wraps up episode 20 of Drop the Mets Hockey Podcast. Another great episode. Can't thank you enough for coming on. Um,
You ain't gotta thank me, man. I'm your co-host.
yeah, brother, I appreciate you, man. But
You ain't gotta thank me, man. I'm your co-host.
we've got an unreal, awesome interview. This one was a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
From the U.S. National Development Program, BU commit Cole Hutson. Talk to us about growing up with three other brothers that are all phenomenal hockey players. Um, Talked about playing at BU this year. Obviously, he was in the National Development Program. His two
Yeah.
brothers are at BU, so getting to play at Aganis in that, in that environment. So yeah, this was an awesome interview. He's considered one of the top defensive prospects in the 2024 NHL Draft. So yeah, without further ado, man, we give you guys Cole Hutson. So thank you and take care. Welcome back to another episode of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast, brought to you in partnership with Primetime Productions. We have one of our best guests that we've had probably since the show started. Unreal U.S. National Development Program defenseman, BU commit, 2024 NHL Draft prospect Cole Hutson. Cole, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you, even with the flight to Finland, and I'm sure you're probably exhausted. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
So you guys, like I mentioned, guys traveled to Finland. Talk to us about what you're going to be doing there. The competition that you're going to be facing there, and what are you most excited for that trip?
I think just getting to see where we're at against other countries is going to be a big thing for us because it's a different scenario for us compared to playing college teams, USHL teams. Instead, we're comparing ourselves to see how we do against other countries, and it'll set us up big time for the end of the year.
Yeah, you mentioned the college competition that you had, and kind of I was going to ask this later on in the interview, but you guys went into BU, you went into Aganis and just freaking lit it up, man. Talk to us about what that experience was like. Obviously you played against both your brothers, and talk to us about what that experience was like, the crowd, just the whole environment as a whole.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best games I've played in my life. Most fun environment to ever be in. Obviously, we had three BU commits on our team: me, Izzy, and Camille, and it was a huge game for us. And I'm glad we took down my brothers.
Yeah, were they chirping you at all throughout the game?
No, not really. They
Oh.
kind of had to keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, especially, man, the scores of those games. It was like, holy shit! Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you guys took it to him, but kind of pivoting, from when growing up and stuff. Mentioned you have three brothers, Lane, Quinn, and Lars. All hockey players. Um, Talk to us about growing up in that household. Obviously, insane. You guys are all nasty at hockey. Like, talk to us about what it was like growing up in that household. Um, and what did growing up with three brothers that all played hockey, what did that do for your development in your game?
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy environment growing up. Three super competitive brothers who always wanted to be better than everyone. And yeah, it was competing against each other every day, wanting to get better. And it's definitely helped my game a lot. I know it's helped theirs too. And yeah, I think just the environment we put ourselves in has helped us a lot.
Yeah, you guys must have had some like unreal battles, man. Whether it was mini hockey or street hockey or whatever. Who usually came out on top during those battles?
Uh, it kind of depended on what we were doing, but I would say it was a fair share of winning
There
for
you
sure.
go. Who would you credit as like the one that kind of made you fall in love with the game? Like who would you credit as your biggest influence on why you love the game of hockey so much?
Definitely my dad. He got me into it at a pretty young age. I have memories from him bringing me out with his high school team, just get me on the skates at age 2 through the rest of my life. And yeah, he definitely got me into it. And my brothers helped me too. And I always wanted to be just like them growing up. And yeah, they definitely got me into it too.
Yeah, on the national U.S. national team development website, um, you have listed as your hockey hero your dad, like you just mentioned. What is your dad and your mom, honestly, what have they meant, like obviously from a young age, even up until now, what have they meant like to you? You literally have been there through your entire hockey journey. What have they meant to you during this whole process? It's a crazy process and it's only gonna get crazier come draft time. Like what have they meant to you during this whole thing?
Yeah, they've definitely been there for me my whole life, and I can't thank them enough. They've driven me 7 a.m. hockey practice my whole life, pretty much sacrificing everything they had, and they wanted to put me in the best situation that I could be in, and yeah, I can't thank them enough for that.
Yeah, so and I was also kind of on that website, and honestly, you and I are pretty similar as far as like interests and stuff. Obviously, you're a lot better at hockey and you can skate and stuff, and me not so much. But man, you got your favorite movie listed as Happy Gilmore. Taylor Swift is your favorite artist. Favorite hobby is golf. One that threw me through an absolute loop is iCarly as as your favorite TV show, man. Like what is that all about? Threw me through a complete loop.
Yeah, I don't know. I think probably in the moment I was just writing stuff down, but yeah, I remember growing up. It was definitely one of my favorite TV shows to watch, most entertaining, and I always watched it with my brothers growing up.
How's the golf game, dude?
I'm all right. Definitely need some work, but I give my brothers a run for their money.
Don't we all, man? We all need work. But so you're committed to play at BU. Mentioned, both Quinn and Lane are both there right now, both extremely talented. Um, was it always BU? Were there any other schools that you at least went and visited or were interested in, or was it always the Terriers throughout this?
I did check out Michigan State on like an unofficial visit. It was a pretty nice school, but I had a feeling that I was going to BU like no matter what. I feel like they kind of paved the way for me, and I just wanted to be with them.
What is it going to mean to you to be able to put on the same sweater as your brothers and to be on the same ice as them?
It's definitely gonna be different, but yeah, I just can't wait for it to get started.
Yeah, for the past couple years, you put up some incredible stats. During your time at the National Development Program, the World Juniors, the World Hockey Championships. Um, what areas of your game do you take the most pride in? And then to kind of caveat off that, what are some areas of your game that you are really looking to focus on improving? As your game develops.
Yeah, obviously, who doesn't love having fun in the ozone? I know it's my favorite part of the game, but
Right.
I've been focusing more on the D side of the puck this year, kind of closing out plays fast and join the rush whenever I can.
Man, talk to us about winning gold, both in the World Juniors and the World Hockey Championship. What was that? What was that whole experience like? Obviously, you were playing the best of the best, right? I mean, for every country, and you guys ultimately took home gold. What was that? What were those tournaments like? And what was it like being able to take home gold?
Yeah, it was definitely one of the best moments of my life, both times. I felt like it couldn't get better the second time, but I think it outdid it the second time. Like the teams we had put together and we all came so close, and to win with both groups was kind of crazy. And yeah, it was one of the best moments of my life.
And I was going through that roster, and it was like unbelievable how loaded you guys were. Like the names on that, and then honestly for the other countries too, I was going through their list, and it's like holy shit, like you guys, played well too.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's awesome, man. And kind of going back to, I was on your profile, and you had Kale McCarr and the Colorado Avalanche listed as your favorite player, and your favorite team. Is Kale a guy that you try to emulate your game after? I mean, obviously you mentioned, love being in the offensive zone, and who's better in the NHL right now offensively than Kale McCarr, right? And so is he a guy that you try to emulate your game after? And are there any other defensemen in the league that you really kind of look up to and try to model your game after?
yeah, definitely. Cale Makar is up there for one of my favorite players to watch, and I try and model my game against and do what he does in the ozone all the time. And another player that I look up to is Adam Fox. He obviously played for NTP also, and he's not a bigger guy, and just the way he's able to create chances for his teammates and create something from little to nothing there is pretty special.
Is Adam Fox a guy that you kind of compare your, like? I know it's really hard to kind of compare yourself, right, to other players because every player is so different, right? Is Adam Fox a guy that you kind of see yourself in?
Yeah, I think we definitely have some similarities, but yeah, obviously he's in the NHL. I'm not. I still
Right,
got
right.
work to do. So yeah, I can't really compare myself to any of them.
I feel like just in watching your game, right? I mean, yeah, you said it there, right? Like you'll get there someday. It's just I see so many, similarities, right, in the way that you play and the way that Adam Fox plays. I think that's an awesome comparison. Um, so earlier this season, there was some huge news, right? Cole Eiserman decommitted from the University of Minnesota, commits to BU, man. What was that like for you? And what was your reaction when you heard the news of that? Because that it was unreal. It kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden I like looked at my phone and I was like, "This isn't happening. Like that's insane." What was your reaction when you first heard?
Yeah, I was kind of in shock. I couldn't really believe it, but yeah, I just know I'm excited to play the next few years with him, and it's been a blast these past 2 years with him too.
Yeah, it's awesome to see how like the college hockey game is evolving, and I think Lane was kind of the start of that, right? How electric all these guys are, and obviously BU right now is a phenomenal team with Macklin Celebrini being over there, and
Yeah,
your brother, both your brothers for that matter, right?
yeah.
Um, and I kind of wanted to ask this before when we were talking about when you played at BU. Was that the most electric environment that you played in? Was that the like craziest barn you've ever played in, or were there any other atmospheres that were crazier than that?
Yeah, it was definitely the best game I've played in my life, and just it was just a special game for me. The fans definitely made it special, and yeah, it was a once in a lifetime moment, and we definitely lived up to it.
So this year, right, 2024, you're draft eligible. Um, Crazy time, right? You're going to be getting calls left and right. Meetings left and right. For NHL GMs, coaches, scouts, whatever, they're looking at Cole Hutson, the player, and the person. What kind of person and player is a team getting in Cole Hutson?
I think they're getting a guy that can produce points, secondary and primary, and kind of person that everyone wants to be around. And I think I'm a pretty humble kid that loves their teammates and will do anything for them.
Yeah, I think you said it right there, man. And we had Brody Zemer on our last episode, and same thing, man. Like just saying how fun that group is to everyone gets along in that locker room. That's what he was saying, and he said this is one of the best groups he's been a part of. So man, I honestly I can't thank you enough for coming on, answering some questions, and honestly wish you nothing but the best. Wish you luck in the draft process. Obviously enjoy Finland, and take care, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye.